Okay, so let's unpack the source material we've sunk into today.
Right.
It's a deep dive into a brand new book using something, well, maybe a bit unusual for us.
Mm.
Primarily an Amazon product page.
Yeah, you might just think click buy, right?
Exactly. But these listings, they're kind of like gold mines. They pack in fascinating details about the book itself, the author's unique journey, and real-time reader reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission in this deep dive is to, pull out all those key nuggets, connect the dots, and build a really clear picture of this specific book, Problematic Summer Romance.
And the author behind it, Ali Hazelwood.
Right, Ali Hazelwood. We'll cover everything from the basic facts and plot hints to insights into her background and what readers are finding compelling, or maybe just a little bit much. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. And looking at a source like this, it isn't just about listing facts, is it? It's about understanding how the book is presented and, well, how it's initially perceived.
How?
Well, by analyzing all the pieces of this listing, the official description, the author's bio, those early customer reviews, we can actually construct a surprisingly nuanced view.
Ah, okay. Like its
Ah.
identity, its target audience, maybe its potential impact.
Exactly. It's about going beyond just the surface to find the sort of underlying story of the book's launch.
That's right. And speaking of underlying stories, the very first thing that sort of jumps out from the source, specifically the author's bio,
Oh,
wow, it's just how wonderfully unexpected Ali Hazelwood's background is.
he really is.
We see she's a #1 New York Times bestselling author, often called a romance powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Standard stuff for a romance writer, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But the source also tells us she's a writer of peer-reviewed articles about brain science and holds a PhD in neuroscience.
That's quite the combination, isn't it? It is a striking contrast.
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got the rigorous world of academic neuroscience where, well, as the source puts it, she writes articles in which no one makes out and the ever after is not always happy.
Right. Very different from romance.
And then on the other hand, she's creating these hugely popular, emotionally resonant romance novels focused, entirely on kissing and happy ever afters. It immediately creates this intriguing duality. What do you think that blend brings to her work? That mix of intense scientific discipline and creative fiction.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The source does hint at it through reviews, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They describe her writing as achieving the elusive marriage of deeply brainy and delightfully escapist.
Brainy and escapist.
Yeah. So I wonder if having that scientific brain, that, analytical approach honed by neuroscience, maybe it allows her to build tension or understand character motivations with a certain precision, even within a passionate romance framework.
That makes sense.
It seems to inform that intelligent quality readers often mention. It's more than just the typical STEM heroine trope where the main character works in science.
Right, because her own background goes deeper. She is that background. She's not just writing about it. And her personal journey adds another layer, too. The source mentions she's originally from Italy, lived in Germany and Japan.
Before coming to the U.S. for that neuroscience PhD.
Yeah. That international perspective, well, it isn't necessarily obvious in every romance plot, but it's part of the lived experience of the person crafting these stories,
For sure. And the list of her other best-selling books, Love, Theoretically, The Love Hypothesis, Deep End, Bride, It clearly shows this isn't a fluke, right? She has a proven track record.
Definitely. Readers recognize her style and know what they're getting, generally.
These titles reinforce her standing in the genre, and, well, they build anticipation for a new release like this one. They signal that she consistently delivers a certain type of reading experience.
Yeah, consistency is key for genre authors.
Plus, the author bio adds those fun, sort of relatable personal touches.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, it says she enjoys crocheting, eating cake pops, and watching sci-fi movies with her 3 feline overlords and slightly less feline husband.
Ah, okay, that definitely humanizes the brain scientist best-selling author.
Right. And it ties into that approachable, maybe slightly quirky vibe her characters often seem to have.
And those details, they're strategically included, They help foster a connection with readers.
Makes sense.
And the editorial reviews quoted in the source, they certainly underscore the high expectations. Romance powerhouse, obsessed, passionate and witty and primal in its intensity. Those are powerful endorsements, setting a pretty high bar.
They really are.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's our author. Let's turn our attention to the book itself. Problematic Summer Romance.
Sure.
What are the basic facts the source gives us?
Okay, the listing provides the essentials. Title: Author Ali Hazelwood, published by Berkeley, release date May 27, 2025. It's listed as 416 pages.
Which is a decent length.
Yeah, and available in all the standard formats. Kindle, audiobook, hardcover, and paperback.
Got it. And its genre categorization is quite specific, right?
Yeah.
Literature and fiction, genre fiction.
Landing in both contemporary romance and new adult and college romance. So it clearly tells you where it sits on the shelf, who it's kind of aimed at.
And the blurb immediately hits you with that intriguing tagline. What is wrong meets what feels right.
Ooh, yeah. That tagline is a direct nod to the central conflict.
Definitely.
And the blurb unpacks it by introducing the protagonists. Maya Kilgore, she's 23 and a struggling grad student.
Okay.
And Connor Harkness, who's 38, a successful biotech guy.
38 to 23. Okay, there's the age gap.
Exactly. And crucially, he's also her brother's best friend.
The double whammy. So right off the bat, you see two classic romance tropes converging.
Yep. The age gap,
Yeah.
significant difference in age.
15 years.
Right. And the brother's best friend dynamic where, one protagonist is romantically involved with their sibling's close friend.
These are common story patterns, aren't they? Used
Yeah.
to create built-in tension, obstacles.
Definitely. And the source emphasizes that this dynamic is the explicit problem, at least from Connor's side. He feels the power dynamic is too imbalanced because of the age difference.
And the whole brother's friend thing.
Yeah. And that any relationship would be problematic in too many ways to count. He's actually pushing her away, telling her to just get over him.
Wow, okay. So that's the engine of the plot right there.
It seems so. The title itself, Problematic Summer Romance, directly names and engages with this primary source of conflict.
Makes sense. And does that come up in reviews?
Oh, yeah. One review explicitly confirms this, stating the entire conflict is about the age gap.
But the blurb adds that crucial hint, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But not everything is as it seems, and cliches sometimes become plot twists.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that tells us there's probably more going on under the surface than just the obvious age difference and forbidden angle. It suggests hidden complexities, maybe reasons for Connor's resistance that go beyond just his stated objections.
And that's key to keeping the reader invested, right? It promises that the potential repetition of the central conflict, which, spoiler, some reviewers do point out later, might actually be underpinned by deeper layers that will eventually be revealed.
Okay, so it elevates it from just a simple trope execution to something with potential narrative surprises.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the promise.
So how did these two characters with this built-in conflict actually end up spending time together? The source highlights the plot device.
It's Maya's brother's wedding.
The wedding trope.
A destination wedding, specifically in Taormina, Italy, Sicily.
Oh, wow.
This is a classic forced proximity setup, another trope, where characters are basically obligated to spend time together in a confined or unavoidable situation.
Like a wedding villa in Sicily.
Exactly. The source describes the setting beautifully. The beautiful Ionian coast, between ancient ruins, delicious foods, and natural caves.
That sounds like a postcard. A perfect romantic backdrop designed to amplify the tension, I bet.
Totally. They're stuck together in a romantic Sicilian villa for over a week. You can't really avoid someone easily in that situation.
No escape.
That enforced closeness is essential. It creates opportunities for interaction, maybe confrontation, and it eliminates easy outs. And the source tells us the tension quickly builds. Maya cannot stop thinking about him.
Even though he's pushing her away.
Right. While Connor is still trying to push her away. It's that classic romance push and pull.
And then that twist hint comes back.
Yeah.
Maya realizes Connor might be hiding something from her.
So she senses it too.
Yeah. And the destination wedding itself also begins to erupt out of control, adding external pressure, maybe some chaos.
Okay, so it's not just their internal drama.
Seems like it. Despite all this, Maya decides a summer fling might be just what she needs, even if it's a problematic one.
Interesting. So she leans into it.
Yeah, it shows her taking some agency in the situation, doesn't it? Sort of embracing the messiness.
It definitely sets up the classic vacation romance scenario, but with higher stakes because of the brother's best friend element. It's not just some random guy.
Right. It involves someone deeply embedded in her life already.
Exactly. So the setup is rich with both romantic potential and, well, those built-in narrative hurdles.
Okay, so we have the setup, the gorgeous setting, the core tropes. Let's dig into the conflict itself and how it plays out according to the reader, feedback, and the source.
Right. So the central conflict, as we said, is Connor's insistence that their relationship is problematic. Primarily the age gap in the dynamics. Reviewers confirm this is the focus, like that one stating the entire conflict is about the age gap.
It really aligns with the book's title and blurb then. Very direct.
Very direct. And readers identify the specific tropes involved. You've got the age gap angst, that emotional turmoil caused by the age difference.
Yeah, the plining maybe?
Definitely pining, brother's best friend, forbidden romance because it's seen as improper or disallowed.
Forced proximity, which we just talked about.
Exactly. They're all clearly present. But this is also where some specific criticism arises in the reviews, right?
Oh yeah, what kind?
Well, some readers found Connor's constant focus on the age gap and inappropriateness to be repetitive.
Ah. Like he keeps saying it over and over.
Pretty much. There's a direct quote in the source. "We get it, Connor. You think she's too young, now shut up and kiss her."
Huh. Okay, that's pretty blunt feedback.
It is. Another reviewer specifically asked if Connor was worth all of this effort from Maya.
Ooh, that's a tough question for a romance hero.
Yeah.
That's really interesting feedback. It suggests that while the central conflict is clear, maybe its execution felt a bit one-note or even frustrating for some readers.
Yeah, it highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Making a character's internal resistance compelling rather than just annoying.
Does the source offer any clues as to why some readers felt this way, while others clearly enjoyed the tension? Like what made it work for some?
The source doesn't explicitly explain the reason for that divergence, not really, but it does balance the criticism with other feedback that praises the buildup and the tension.
Okay.
It seems for many, the angst associated with the age gap trope was actually a feature, not a bug, and the payoff in their connection was worth the emotional push and pull.
And Maya's perspective, realizing Connor might be hiding something, that adds a layer that could potentially justify his resistance, couldn't it?
That's a good point.
If he has a hidden reason beyond just the age gap, maybe related to the brothers' wedding chaos or something in his own life, it adds complexity. And maybe that makes his reluctance more understandable for readers who might have found it repetitive otherwise.
Precisely. That element of mystery, it potentially elevates the conflict beyond a simple, he thinks she's too young scenario. It gives Maya a reason to pursue him, not just based on attraction, but because she senses there's more to uncover about his behavior. Makes her more active.
Right, more of a puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the premise, the setting, the conflict. Let's step back and look at Ali Hazelwood's signature style as described by readers and the overall reading experience. What are people saying?
This is where the praise in the source is pretty consistent, actually. Readers frequently highlight her signature banter, that witty back-and-forth dialogue between characters.
Oh yeah, people love good banter.
They do. And her witty internal monologues, giving insight into the character's often hilarious thoughts. These are clearly hallmarks fans appreciate and expect from her.
And I saw phrases like trademark storytelling magic that somehow feels both grounded and giddy and effortlessly charming prose. That suggests a writing voice that's both skilled and really engaging, doesn't it?
It really does. And the description of her characters as being intelligent and funny, but also very relatable about how awkward her characters can be, that speaks to her ability to create characters that feel real and lovable, even in these slightly heightened romantic situations.
That relatability, especially through awkwardness, that's powerful, isn't it? Makes the characters endearing.
Totally. And the reader experience, as described in the source, sounds intensely compelling.
Yeah, the source quotes multiple reviewers using phrases like unputdownable.
Right. And inhaled this book.
And tore through it in a day. That's basically the ultimate compliment for a writer, isn't it? Creating a story so gripping that readers just can't stop turning the pages.
It really is. It speaks to the pacing and the strength of the emotional connection readers feel. It seems like, despite potential issues some had with how the central conflict was presented, the overall feeling is that the book delivers a really addictive romance experience.
The balance also seems key. Reviewers call it a great summer romance with a touch of angst,
Right, that mix again.
and praise the pining, the banter, the chemistry, the spice. Perfection. Another describes it as messy, sweet, funny, and full of heart.
That sounds like a great combination. That blend of emotional depth, humor, heat, and relatable messiness, it hits a lot of different notes that romance readers are often looking for.
Definitely. And don't forget those small, delightful details mentioned in the source. One review specifically highlighted enjoying the dogs, friends, lots of wine.
Huh. The essentials. Those little touches add texture and enjoyment, make the world feel richer and more fun.
They really do make a difference. Okay, moving from the overall style, let's focus specifically on the characters, Maya and Connor, and how their dynamic was perceived.
Okay. The source offers specific descriptions from reader reviews. Maya's voice is characterized as equal parts self-aware, chaotic, and sincere.
Ooh, I like that combination.
Self-aware.
Self-aware, chaotic, and sincere. Sounds incredibly appealing, like she understands her own messiness, but is also genuine.
Yeah, relatable again, right. And Connor is initially presented and perceived by some as that reluctant partner.
Which brings us back to that point of contention.
Yeah.
His repetition about the age gap. That specific critique, we get it, Connor. You think she's too young? Now shut up and kiss her.
Yeah.
That really highlights the potential issue for some readers.
It does, and the question of whether he was worth all of this effort from Maya.
Yeah, that's a critical piece of feedback, isn't it? Because the hero needs to be compelling enough for the reader to invest in the relationship, even if he's initially resistant.
Exactly. If his resistance feels poorly motivated or just overly repetitive, it can really undermine the romance itself. You stop rooting for them.
But the source balances this with strong positive feedback on the character interaction and development, right?
Yes, exactly. Reviewers noted that Maya and Connor interact for virtually the entire book.
Okay, so they get a lot of page time together.
Yeah, which allows their relationship to build, and it felt organic and authentic.
That's a crucial counterpoint then. So while the reason for the conflict might have felt repetitive to some, the actual interactions between the characters on the page seem to have successfully built an authentic and believable connection for many readers.
It seems that way. Spending so much time with them together makes the development feel earned, you know?
Right. And the overall character development is praised too. The source says the main characters are extremely well developed and, importantly, don't feel like a repetition of old characters.
That's super important for an author with a growing backlist. Readers definitely want fresh characters, not just recycled versions.
Totally. And the fact that other characters were also nicely fleshed out and didn't feel like a distraction suggests a strong supporting cast too, which always helps.
Absolutely. This feedback implies that despite the potential issue with the core conflict's presentation for some readers, the strength of the main characters and their dynamic, coupled with a solid supporting cast, really contributes to the book's positive reception overall.
Now, here's a detail from the source that's particularly exciting, I think, for existing Ali Hazelwood fans. The interconnected universe.
Oh, yeah. This is such a popular thing now, isn't it? And readers love it.
Yeah, definitely. The source explicitly mentions callbacks, appearances, and cameos from characters in other Ali Hazelwood books.
Which ones?
It specifically names Deep End and Not in Love. One reviewer even described Not in Love as potentially being a prequel to this book, suggesting a maybe deeper connection.
Wow, okay, a prequel hint. That's cool.
And readers clearly loved this aspect. The source quotes phrases like, loved the cameos, and how it felt like a warm hug reading about old characters. That's the kind of emotional payoff you get when an author builds a world across multiple books.
It really is. It turns reading her books into more of a cumulative experience, doesn't it? You're not just reading an isolated story. You're revisiting characters you already love, seeing how their lives are progressing or how new characters fit into that world.
Yeah. The idea that she's building out a little interconnected universe is a significant draw, I bet. And it probably encourages engagement with her entire backlist, too.
Absolutely. It fosters a sense of community among readers who catch these references. It's pretty clever world building beyond just a single narrative arc.
Adds another layer of enjoyment that goes beyond just the plot of the current book.
For sure.
So, looking at the overall reader reception from the Amazon listing, the numbers seem to tell a pretty strong story.
They really do.
Yeah.
A rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars from 561 ratings. That's very positive, especially for a book that's, still relatively early in its life cycle based on the publication date and the source.
Yeah, that indicates a large majority of readers are having a great experience.
Definitely. And the AI-generated customer insights listed in the source, they quickly summarize the key positive sentiments.
What do they highlight?
Things we've already touched on. Readers enjoy the romance, the character development, and the writing style, highlighting words like fun, witty, relatable, and spicy.
Okay, so it echoes the specific review feedback we've discussed.
Exactly. And the bestseller ranks listed like hashtag 34 overall, hashtag 3 in contemporary romance. They further confirm its strong performance in the market right out of the gate.
So the core elements the book aims for seem to be connecting with its intended audience, even with that specific critique about the repetition for some.
It seems so.
Now, beyond the story itself, the source also provides some interesting details about the production side. like the audiobook and the physical copies printed in certain regions.
Yeah, that was interesting. The audiobook narration gets mixed feedback in the source.
Oh, how so?
Well, one reviewer didn't enjoy the performance of a character named Eli by Eric Nolan, but they did appreciate the overall duet narration style.
Where different voice actors perform different characters.
Right, which is pretty common and often popular in romance audiobooks. But conversely, another reviewer highly recommended the audiobook, specifically praising Connor's Irish accent.
Ah, so Connor's Irish. That's a nice detail.
Yeah, and they called the duet narration absolute chef's kiss.
Wow, okay. That's quite a range of reactions to the performance. It really highlights how subjective audiobook narration can be, doesn't it? Especially when specific character voices or accents are involved.
Totally. It seems the duet format itself was generally liked, even if opinions on individual performances differed.
It just shows that the way a story is experienced in different formats can vary significantly based on things like narration quality or just personal preference, which are separate from the writing itself.
Exactly.
And then there's this other detail about issues with the physical book quality for copies printed by Amazon in Europe.
Yeah, that was surprising. Reviewers mentioned things like thin covers, small spine print, even pixelated illustrations.
Oof.
Making them look like fake or self-published copies, apparently.
It's a fascinating sort of practical detail from the source, and the author's explanation, as reported by a reviewer, attributes this to Amazon EU stopping orders of U.S. printed copies.
Why?
Due to carbon footprint concerns, apparently. So they're using local printing that just doesn't match the original quality. It's a real-world logistical challenge impacting the physical product.
Wow. It's surprising, but also kind of understandable, that readers would factor that into their overall impression and review if the physical book quality is noticeably poor.
Yeah, it underscores that the reader experience isn't just the words on the page, it's the entire package, including the format they choose.
It's a unique nugget from this source, isn't it? Gives insight into the challenges of global book distribution in the digital age.
It certainly does. Offers a tangible detail beyond the typical plot and character discussion, revealing a practical issue stemming from supply chain and printing decisions. Okay, wow. We've dug pretty deep into this Amazon listing, extracting details from the author's incredible background to the specifics of the plot, reader reactions, and even those production notes. Let's take a step back and think about why stories like this resonate with you, the listener, and what we can take away from this deep dive.
Yeah, it prompts us to consider the enduring appeal of certain story structures, doesn't it? Like, why do readers flock to narratives with a clear, upfront conflict like an age gap or forbidden love?
Maybe it's the built-in drama, the high stakes, the anticipation of watching characters try to overcome significant barriers.
Could be, and the power of setting, the allure of a destination like picturesque Sicily. It offers escapism, adds that layer of romance, and often serves as a catalyst, right? Pushing characters together away from their everyday lives.
Definitely. Then there's the fundamental craft of storytelling, especially in romance. The satisfaction you get from witty banter and that palpable chemistry between characters.
Right. As the source highlights, that sharp dialogue and strong connection seem to be where this book truly shines for many readers. That's the core appeal.
We also started with the author's unique background brain science meets best-selling romance. What does that actually bring to the table beyond just having a STEM heroine?
Well, as reviewers note, her writing is intelligent. Perhaps that analytical mind, honed by neuroscience, influences the structure, maybe the pacing or the way she writes character motivations. Maybe it helps make the emotional journey feel more earned.
Could be. It certainly challenges traditional ideas about creative paths, doesn't it? That someone can excel in such distinct fields. It highlights a fascinating blend of analytical rigor and emotional creativity.
He really does.
And just the simple pleasure, too, of getting lost in an unput-downable book. In a world full of distractions, finding a story that completely grips your attention, making you just want to keep reading. That's a powerful experience the source definitely mentions.
Absolutely. And finally, there's the joy of discovering those intentional connections within an author's body of work, spotting cameos, recognizing recurring characters, feeling like you're part of an expanding universe. It adds that rewarding layer for devoted readers.
So true. Okay, well, we've taken a deep dive into problematic summer romance, peeling back the layers of its Amazon listing to understand what makes this book and its author Ali Hazelwood connect so strongly with readers.
Yeah, from the fascinating contrast of a brain scientist writing spicy romance to the specific dynamics of Maya and Connor's age gap, brothers' best friend's story unfolding in picturesque Sicily, The source material gave us a wealth of detail.
We saw how readers really appreciate the signature wit, the banter, the tension, even if, for some, the core complex presentation felt a bit repetitive.
And we also touched upon the fun emergence of that interconnected universe, and even practical details like audiobook narration and printing quality issues.
So, as you think about this deep dive, maybe consider this. In a world where we're often pretty quick to label things, people, situations, relationships as simply problematic and maybe dismiss them, what does it mean for a story to explicitly embrace that label, to lean into it, explore the complexities and potential issues it raises, and yet still manage to deliver the compelling heart, the genuine connection, and, well, the undeniable heat that readers are clearly finding so resonant?
That's a great question to ponder. What makes that combination work?